The fabric of time is unraveling. Hidden among the stars, an ancient alien race has unlocked the ultimate weapon, time itself. They twist history to reshape reality, altering wars they never fought and erasing futures that were never theirs to claim. Humanity's last hope lies in the hands of a team of astronauts, stranded light years from Earth, armed only with courage and cutting-edge technology. But can they stop what cannot be undone? Prepare for a journey across timelines, where every second counts and every decision shapes eternity. This is Time War Dash. Subscribe now to witness the battle for existence. In the vast expanse of space, humanity had reached farther than ever before. Colonies dotted distant planets, and exploration vessels ventured into uncharted regions of the galaxy. Yet amidst this golden age of discovery, whispers began to emerge, whispers of something ancient lurking beyond known space. It started subtly, historical records shifting inexplicably, battles once lost being recounted as victories, entire civilizations vanishing without explanation. Scientists puzzled over these anomalies, dismissing them as errors or glitches until one day it became undeniable. A war was being waged not just across space but through time itself. On board the starship, Eclipse Dash, Commander Elena Voss led her crew deeper into the unknown. Their mission was straightforward: to investigate strange temporal disturbances detected near the edge of human territory. What they found instead defied comprehension. A colossal alien vessel hung suspended in orbit around a dying star, its surface shimmering like liquid metal under the dim light. Sensors revealed impossible readings, waves of chronometric energy pulsating outward, bending time like ripples in water. The implications were chilling. Whoever controlled this ship possessed the power to rewrite history at will. As the crew prepared to make contact, tension crackled through the air. None aboard could fathom the scale of what they faced. Were these beings hostile, or merely indifferent to the fragile threads of human civilization? For now, answers eluded them, but one thing was certain: the stakes had never been higher. The first encounter left everyone shaken. As the Eclipse approached the alien craft, a sudden surge of energy enveloped the ship, pulling it into a vortex of distorted reality. Time slowed, then sped up uncontrollably, leaving the crew disoriented and nauseated. When the turbulence subsided, they found themselves adrift in unfamiliar space, surrounded by constellations no human eye had ever seen. Instruments confirmed their worst fears. They weren't simply displaced, they had been hurled decades into the past. Commander Voss immediately ordered damage control protocols, but the situation grew worse by the minute. Historical events unfolded differently outside their windows. Battles played out with outcomes contrary to recorded history. Technological advancements appeared prematurely, and key figures vanished entirely. It became clear that the aliens' manipulation extended far beyond mere observation. They were actively reshaping the timeline to suit their purposes. Each change rippled outward, destabilizing the very foundation of reality. Back on the Eclipse Dash, engineers worked tirelessly to analyze the alien technology responsible for the temporal distortions. Their findings painted a grim picture. The invaders operated on principles so advanced they bordered on sorcery. Quantum entanglement, gravity wells, and tachyon emissions all woven together into a seamless web of causality-breaking machinery. Without intervention, humanity would soon cease to exist, not through conquest, but by erasure. Desperation fueled innovation. With limited resources and dwindling hope, the crew devised a plan to counteract the alien influence. Chief Engineer Marcus Hale proposed constructing a device capable of generating localized temporal shields, barriers designed to insulate small pockets of reality from external interference. While crude compared to the alien tech, the prototype offered a glimmer of possibility. If successful, it might allow them to stabilize critical moments in history long enough to prevent catastrophic alterations. Building the device proved more challenging than anticipated. Components failed under the strain of conflicting energies, circuits overloaded, and calculations required precision beyond human capability. Yet despite setbacks, the crew pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure meant annihilation. Late nights blurred into early mornings as they pieced together fragments of theory and experimentation, cobbling together a functional unit barely large enough to protect the Eclipse itself. Meanwhile, Commander Voss grappled with ethical dilemmas. Should they prioritize preserving pivotal events, even if doing so meant sacrificing lives, or focus solely on safeguarding humanity's survival? Every choice carried weight, each decision shaping the future in ways none could fully predict. Despite her resolve, doubt gnawed at her conscience. Was she truly equipped to shoulder such responsibility? The breakthrough came unexpectedly during a routine systems check. A minor fluctuation in the shield generator triggered a cascade effect, briefly stabilizing a fragment of altered history. Encouraged by the result, the crew refined their approach, fine-tuning parameters until the device achieved consistent performance. Though imperfect, it provided a lifeline, a means to anchor themselves against the relentless tide of temporal chaos. Armed with their new tool, the crew embarked on a daring mission to confront the alien vessel directly. Navigating treacherous currents of fractured time, they closed the distance between ships, braving storms of paradoxical phenomena along the way. Lightning bolts of frozen moments streaked past, ghostly echoes of erased realities whispered warnings, and gravitational anomalies threatened to tear the eclipse apart at any moment. When they finally arrived within range, the sight was awe-inspiring yet terrifying. The alien ship loomed larger than ever, its surface alive with intricate patterns of light and shadow. Beams of pure chronometric energy lanced outward, rewriting history with surgical precision. Observing the spectacle filled the crew with both wonder and dread. They were witnessing the raw power of gods. Preparations for engagement consumed every waking hour. Tactical simulations ran nonstop, mapping potential strategies and accounting for variables introduced by the unpredictable nature of time. Weapon systems received upgrades tailored specifically to disrupt temporal fields, though success remained uncertain. Morale wavered as the enormity of the task ahead sank in. Could mere mortals stand against forces capable of unraveling existence itself? Commander Voss called a meeting to address growing concerns. Standing before her crew, she spoke words meant to inspire confidence even as fear gripped her own heart. She reminded them why they had chosen this path, not for glory or recognition, but because someone had to fight for the fragile thread of humanity's story. Together, they represented the best chance of restoring balance to a broken universe. With renewed determination, the crew launched their assault. Shields flared as the Eclipse plunged into the heart of the alien operation, dodging barrages of destabilizing energy while deploying countermeasures. Every maneuver brought them closer to their objective, disabling the core mechanism driving the temporal manipulations. Success depended on split-second timing and unwavering precision, a challenge unlike anything they'd faced before. The alien vessel responded with a ferocity that caught the crew off guard. As the eclipse closed in, the enemy unleashed waves of temporal anomalies, localized time loops that trapped sections of the ship in endless seconds, reverse gravity wells that threatened to tear apart their hull, and cascading paradoxes that rewrote the very laws of physics around them. Instruments screamed in protest as they struggled to make sense of the chaos. For every step forward, it felt like 2 steps back. Commander Voss and her team adapted quickly, recalibrating their systems on the fly. The temporal shield, though rudimentary, became their lifeline. It flickered under the strain but held firm, creating a fragile bubble of stability amidst the maelstrom. Inside the ship, the crew worked tirelessly, their movements synchronized like a well-oiled machine. Engineers patched damaged circuits while navigators plotted evasive maneuvers through fields of frozen debris, remnants of civilizations erased by the aliens' meddling. Yet for all their efforts, the crew couldn't ignore the creeping realization that they were outmatched. The aliens weren't just manipulating time, they were rewriting it at its most fundamental level. Every action the humans took seemed to ripple outward unpredictably, creating unintended consequences. A single misstep could unravel everything they fought so hard to preserve. The pressure mounted, pushing each member of the crew to their limits. As the battle raged on, Chief Engineer Marcus Hale made a startling discovery. Embedded within the alien energy signatures was a pattern, a sequence of fluctuations that repeated itself across multiple timelines. At first glance, it appeared random, but upon closer inspection, it revealed something profound, a vulnerability. The aliens' technology, though advanced, relied on harmonic resonance to maintain coherence. Disrupting this harmony might destabilize their entire operation. Hale shared his findings with Commander Voss, who immediately recognized the implications. If they could exploit this weakness, they might stand a chance of disabling the alien vessel. But doing so would require precision timing and an unprecedented level of coordination. One wrong move, and the resulting feedback could collapse the timeline entirely. The risk was astronomical, but the alternative, allowing the aliens to continue reshaping history unchecked, was unthinkable. With no time to waste, the crew devised a plan. Using the Eclipse's modified weapons systems, they would target specific nodes within the alien ship's temporal field, disrupting the harmonic frequencies that sustained it. The operation would demand split-second accuracy and absolute trust in one another. Failure was not an option. The assault began with a barrage of synchronized attacks. The Eclipse fired concentrated bursts of chronometric energy at predetermined points along the alien vessel's surface, aiming to disrupt its harmonic patterns. Each shot sent shockwaves rippling through the surrounding space, distorting time in unpredictable ways. Moments stretched into hours, then snapped back to normalcy in an instant. Inside the alien ship, the effects were catastrophic. Temporal shields faltered, exposing critical systems to external interference. For the first time since the conflict began, the invaders showed signs of vulnerability. Their once flawless machinery stuttered and sputtered, unable to compensate for the sudden disruptions. Sensing an opportunity, the crew pressed their advantage, launching wave after wave of targeted strikes. But the aliens were far from defeated. Recognizing the threat posed by the Eclipse dash, they retaliated with devastating force. Beams of pure temporal energy lashed out, attempting to overwhelm the human ship's defenses. The temporal shield groaned under the strain, its edges fraying as cracks began to form. Panic spread among the crew as alarms blared and systems failed one by one. Commander Voss knew they were running out of time. Amidst the chaos, a moment of clarity emerged. Lieutenant Sarah Chun, the ship's astrophysicist, noticed a peculiar anomaly in the alien energy readings. Buried deep within the data was a faint signal, a pulse that repeated at regular intervals, almost like a heartbeat. Further analysis revealed that this signal originated from a central core deep within the alien vessel. It wasn't just powering their temporal manipulations, it was the source of their entire operation. Realizing the significance of this discovery, Commander Voss adjusted their strategy. Instead of focusing on peripheral targets, they would aim directly for the core. Destroying it would cripple the aliens' ability to manipulate time, potentially ending the war once and for all. However, reaching the core would require navigating through layers of increasingly volatile temporal fields. Any misstep could trap them in a loop or erase them from existence altogether. The decision weighed heavily on Voss. She understood the risks involved but also knew there was no other choice. With grim determination, she ordered the crew to prepare for the final push. Every system on board the Eclipse was pushed to its limit as they charted a course toward the heart of the alien vessel. Penetrating the alien ship's defenses proved even more harrowing than anticipated. The closer they got to the core, the more unstable the environment became. Time fragmented around them, splitting into countless parallel realities. In some, the Eclipse had already been destroyed. In others, humanity had never existed. The crew clung to their fragile sense of self, fighting to maintain focus as the boundaries between past, present, and future blurred together. Navigating this labyrinth required ingenuity and sheer willpower. Lieutenant Chin worked feverishly to map safe pathways through the temporal distortions, her calculations becoming more complex with each passing second. Engineers scrambled to reinforce the ship's structural integrity as gravitational forces pulled them in conflicting directions. Meanwhile, gunners maintained a steady stream of fire to keep enemy defenses at bay. Despite the overwhelming odds, the crew refused to give up. They drew strength from one another, their camaraderie serving as a beacon of hope in the face of despair. Commander Voss led by example, her unwavering resolve inspiring those around her to push beyond their limits. Slowly but surely, they inched closer to their objective. The final stretch toward the alien core was a gauntlet of chaos and destruction. The Eclipse shuddered violently as it pushed through layers of temporal interference, its hull groaning under the strain. Every meter felt like a battle won against an enemy that didn't fight fairly. It rewrote the rules of reality itself. Time dilation fields slowed their progress to a crawl in some areas, while others accelerated them uncontrollably, forcing the crew to recalibrate their trajectory on the fly. Lieutenant Chin's hands moved furiously over her console, plotting adjustments to keep the ship on course. Her voice remained calm despite the mounting pressure, relaying critical updates to Commander Voss. "We're approaching the core," she announced, her tone betraying a flicker of hope. "But we're losing structural integrity. If we don't disable it soon," she trailed off, unwilling to vocalize the grim outcome. Commander Voss nodded grimly, her eyes locked on the view screen. Ahead, the alien core pulsed with malevolent energy, a swirling vortex of light and shadow that seemed alive. It radiated power so intense it threatened to overwhelm even their reinforced systems. Yet within its chaotic dance, there was a pattern, a rhythm they could exploit. They just needed to strike at the right moment. As the eclipse drew closer, the aliens launched a desperate counterattack. Their defenses shifted unpredictably, creating temporal traps designed to ensnare the human ship. One such trap froze the eclipse, in a loop where the same 10 seconds replayed endlessly. Crew members watched helplessly as explosions rocked the ship, only for everything to reset and start again. Panic began to creep in. How could they escape something that defied logic? Chief Engineer Marcus Hale refused to let despair take hold. Drawing on his deep knowledge of temporal mechanics, he devised a risky solution. By overloading the ship's chronometric emitters, they could create a feedback pulse strong enough to disrupt the loop. It was a gamble. If they miscalculated, the resulting surge could tear the ship apart. But with no other options, Voss gave the order. The feedback pulse worked, not perfectly, but well enough to break free from the loop. The crew exhaled collectively, shaken but alive. They were battered but undeterred. With renewed resolve, they pushed forward, their focus sharper than ever. The core loomed larger now, its pulsating energy casting eerie shadows across the bridge. Reaching the core required navigating one last, deadly obstacle, a field of temporal singularities. These miniature black holes warped time into impossible shapes, pulling fragments of the past and future into the present. Ghostly images of alternate realities flickered around the ship, visions of Earth consumed by fire, humanity enslaved by alien overlords, and timelines where the eclipse had never existed. Navigator Alexei Volkov guided the ship with painstaking precision, threading the needle between collapsing stars and fractured moments. His hands trembled on the controls, sweat beading on his brow, but he didn't falter. Each successful maneuver brought them closer to their goal, though the cost was high. Systems failed left and right, forcing the engineering team to improvise repairs on the spot. The ship groaned like a living thing, protesting every second of the journey. Finally, they broke through. The core lay exposed before them, a massive construct of alien design that pulsed with raw temporal energy. Its surface shimmered with fractal patterns, shifting and rearranging in ways that defied comprehension. This was it, the heart of the enemy's power. Destroying it would end the war, but doing so carried risks beyond measure. Commander Voss made the call. All hands, prepare for termination sequence. The crew sprang into action, activating the modified weapons array designed specifically for this moment. Energy built within the ship's cannons, crackling with potential as they aligned their targeting systems on the core. But the aliens weren't done fighting. Sensing the imminent threat, they unleashed a torrent of temporal anomalies, attempting to destabilize the eclipse entirely. Time inside the ship fragmented once more, splitting the crew into separate pockets of altered reality. Some found themselves reliving memories, others trapped in loops of endless repetition. Communication broke down as each member experienced their own version of the timeline. It was Lieutenant Shin who found a way to anchor them. Using the ship's remaining temporal shield, she created a localized bubble of stability, pulling the crew back together. Her voice cut through the confusion, steady and resolute. Stay focused. We're almost there. With the crew reunited, the final assault began. The eclipse unleashed a concentrated burst of energy directly at the core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deafening roar, the core destabilized, sending shockwaves rippling outward. The alien vessel convulsed, its systems failing as the temporal manipulations unraveled. The collapse of the alien core triggered a cascade effect, undoing the changes wrought upon history. Timelines snapped back into alignment, restoring events to their original state. On board the Eclipse Dash, the crew watched in awe as the universe repaired itself, scars fading like wounds healed by time. Yet victory came at a cost. The Eclipse was barely holding together, its systems on the brink of total failure. With no choice but to abandon ship, the crew transferred to escape pods, setting a course for the nearest human outpost. As they drifted away, the remnants of the alien vessel imploded in a brilliant flash of light, erasing all trace of its existence. Weeks later, the survivors returned to Earth, hailed as heroes. Few understood the full scope of what they had accomplished, but their actions ensured humanity's continued survival. Though weary and scarred, the crew of the Eclipse knew they had faced the impossible and triumphed. If you enjoyed this epic tale of bravery and resilience, don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures across the cosmos. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey through time and space.